Hello there, Sarah from 17 once again. This is my Dark Souls Dirty Depth series. This is where I go in as a soul level 15 character. This one in particular right now is a quality build, and a lot of people like to call it a twink. They like to call a lot of my low level builds twink builds, but makes me think they've never actually fought a twink, and we'll get a big surprise when they do. So the very first fight here is up against a guy who's looking for PvP with a lot of Giants equipment on. And I'm about to get poked because you can see the lag poke coming. There you go. And he gets hit by the dude with the fire hand and then does a well, what is it? Which, I don't know what's worse. The fact that he did that, or just how bad he has to be to think that that is somehow impressive. You killed a level 15 build with all your Giants gear on. You are such a good player, Mr. Giant. And then there's this dude who... This person is, you know, a million times better than that last guy, because they're obviously running through the level. They've got the reinforced club. They've got some equipment on, bit of poise. They know what they're doing. They're trying to fight. They're having a good, you know, a good go, regardless of equipment. And I bet if this person had killed me, they probably wouldn't have done well. What is it? I think that kind of attitude comes from when people have played the game a little bit too long. You know, a lot of those taunts, a lot of those ones that they try to do just to either show off or irritate people or to troll us, as people like to say. I think a lot of that comes much later. And I suppose if you analyse it, it's probably a sign of immaturity, but everybody does it. Everybody does it. I'm guilty of it at times. It just seems to be that thing. When essentially all it is that weird come at me bro kind of animation. I'm curious when it first started happening. You know, when Dark Souls was just people getting killed and then running away, you know, Martyr's Brigade style, and then when all of a sudden the dynamic shifted and people started mocking the dead. But this person waits down here for I think they're in the menu. Yeah, we've killed her before on the last video. That's the person whose Estus Flask wouldn't work. So they swapped to the Grave Lord sword, and then unfortunately she's been killed. But here is a Grim Reaper with a kite shield and an elemental claymore, and here comes a naked scythe person who knows how to backstab, or the connection is closer than I would like. So there's a nice countered backstab, and shit gets interesting when your backstab doesn't land flush. So I run down here, and not a lot of people dare come down here. A lot of people don't actually know about this turn, which... It is a sneaky one, but still, if you've played Dark Souls and you've done the depths a few times, I would like to think you know of this little alcove. So you'll notice I'm going to swap my equipment so that I can stand a better chance of fighting the two people. The target shield is on because setup parries are pro, which they aren't really. They're one of the easiest parries that you can do. And this person does have poise, as you can tell by the loincloth, but not too much of it. So there goes the attack, here comes the phantom, there goes another slash, go for the stun lock. Wow, get hit by a catch pole. Interesting choice. Nice to see as well. You know, somebody getting creative on Dark Souls, which you don't see too much of that. Big fireball just then. Not really going in my favour this fight at all. But I do kill the host, so... My death was not in vain. But back into the fray. This looks like a PvP person. Just with what they're wearing. You know, it looks like that kind of spades, euchres, chainmail build thing with the... Oh, here comes the Wog or the Force. The white phantom looks a lot more PvE than the gold one. So here this person comes. I go for the parry, miss it, get a backstab. Really strange though. I hated how you can kind of morph through each other when you're in close proximity. It makes no sense. Where is the host? Oh, the host is there. Interesting. So I'm now stuck in this room with 3 people. This is bad news. Oh, and he had a hornet. Wow. So as you can see, that person is wearing Giant's leggings, Crown of Dusk, Rapier secondary. Like, who needs that kind of help in the depths, really? And if they're playing just as friends... Is that the kind of build he does PvE with? But everybody plays this game differently, so you've just got to look at it that way. So we've got the backstab train. Oh, I missed it. Oh, he didn't. That is an elemental sword. A nice fiery sword with a hornet. So yeah, you can't win them all. But fun nonetheless. Here we have a host who's looking a little bit worse for wear. So I'm going to start hitting him with my bow. He pops the Estus, which, judging Dark Souls 2, the Estus is going to be indicative of agility. So until people learn that agility dictates how quick you drink your Estus, Estus is going to be real easy to punish. There's my horrible connection on these videos. I can happily say my connection has got better since I recorded these. If you're watching it and thinking how some of these parries are landing, you know, I was probably feeling the same at the time. But here's a guy with a Life Hunt scythe, ninja leggings, Black Knight torso, and low vitality. So, interesting. So, this is a dude wearing full s'mores armor and he's pumping his shield at me. Oh, that's a big hit. He tries to... He's throwing dung pies at me. Very interesting to see. I love people who wear full s'mores. There's just something about it that should be lethal and intimidating, but just looks so damn pathetic. Like, you know, it reminds me of a really fat person who's embarrassed to be naked, who for some reason has been put into a really harsh social environment where they are now naked. You know, it's just depression, sadness, and bitch tits. It's such a funny piece of armor. This is bad. I go for the poise parry. He doesn't swing again. Maybe through lack of endurance. This guy's got a lot of poise. I wonder if he really understands how much he needs. Because in this game there are enemies that ignore poise, guys. You know, the little hollows with the flail attack and the little hollows with the torch? You can have 161 poise and they will poise break you. You know, the enemies ignore the poise rules. the bullshit, really. I don't like that about Dark Souls at all, but it is true. It's only the PvP where it really has definitives. So, I've come back in with more life. I've swapped my shield so I can do that, because a lot of people fall for that every time. Try doing that against an experienced player and you will be backstabbed almost every time. I mean, nowadays you might get dead angled or ghost hit. There's a bunch of techniques you see people try and use. But any player that expects you to try and do a setup parry is, you know, it's not going to end well for you. So, there's the cure of the poison. There's the humanity. A little bit longer this one, considered some of the earlier ones we've been showing have just been really blitzkrieg invasions of me dying or them dying. So we've both got full life. It's back into this again. There's the poise parry. I riposte with the hornet, not the hornet dagger, sorry, the bandit's dagger, and it's just too much for his vitality. Oh, this looks like a pretty high level dude. He's got his boulder shield, he's got his poise ring on, he's got his Kirk armor, so he's got the Lord Vessel because you have to get that armor. That was a very nice parry too. So, obviously knows how to PvP, knows how to counter roll backstabs. That's probably the nicest invasion so far of this set. Guy with the scythe, the old epic name bro favourite. This guy's wearing the Chloranthy ring as well, which you don't see too many people doing. So he knows where the Great Hollow is, but that's about it. And I tweeted recently saying that I'm probably not going to make a walkthrough for Dark Souls 2 until I've beat the game a few times. And a lot of people might think that that's just a waste of time, or that's just silly, or whatever reasons people like to give to things. Anybody who's thinking, whoa, Chris, we need content of this, why the hell would you not do it? It's, you know, it's like your game. Well, don't worry, my first playthrough, my blind playthrough is going to be uploaded. That will be the first thing you see. All the deaths, all the embarrassments, all the victories, all the amazing moments, all of it. But the guide, which is what my channel kind of does, I am a walkthrough maker at heart, is going to come later. And it's going to come later because I made the walkthrough for Dark Souls when I'd beaten the game about 3 times. And I didn't really know anything about the game. I knew I thought I did at the time, but I didn't. You know, every single time you play these games, you learn things, and the more you learn, the more you realise you didn't know. And that's the problem with games. People think they play a game once and they know all its secrets. Well, with Dark Souls, I have beaten this game, I don't even know now, it's probably over 100 times. And people always say this, oh, I've beaten it 50 times, I've beaten it 100 times. I have beaten it probably over 100 times. And there's a lot of people like me who've done it for, you know, to make builds and just to mess about with things. It's just the way it is. So I know so much now than what I did on those guides. And like the live playthrough as well, the live playthrough was before I made the guide, so I was even less experienced. And, you know, probably the most concise and knowledgeable me who made a walkthrough or a video series for Dark Souls was on the Soul Level 1 restricted run that I did with no damage. Because at that point I'd beaten the game a whole bunch of times. This is a different character, by the way. You'll notice this one has a side pyromancy. The pyromancies are essentially my bandit's knife, because this build does not have any weapon powerful enough to do the kind of damage I need against a player like this. Especially when he flasks. When he flasks, it's like, what's the fucking point? You know, I couldn't kill him in the first place, let alone now. And I've saved you from the rest of that invasion because it took forever and I died. So this is somebody with an S-stock going for parries, which is always fun to see. I'm not a big fan of people who spam the parries. A lot of people spam parries, especially when they use critical weapons. If you want a good example of how to use a critical weapon correctly, I would recommend Jerp Does Games. He has a build that is, you know, synonymous for the rapier, and all he really does is intelligent pokes, parries and backstabs, but he does them intelligently because he's a very clever player. He doesn't just sit there spamming them like that retard I had in the forest a couple issues back this series. So this is laggy. And they've got an elemental rapier with a hornet ring, which makes me wonder why people play like this. Do you think that person was tweaking, trying to invade and one-shot people? Speaking of one-shots, look at this guy. Wow, this guy's like a Big Mac, just sat on a table dripping cheese. What is going on? Oh, big hits, big parry, big riposte. So Havel's torso, stone giant leggings, stone gauntlets and stone helmet and shield. That guy's a baller. I have no idea why anybody would wear that much stuff. I hope he likes being fat and he just feels powerful and awesome. I hope that's his reason. But then again, I'm a little biased when it comes to setups on Dark Souls. If I see you wearing completely heavy armor, my initial thought is that you are new to the game, because there seems to be epiphanies or revelations that happen on this game, and you can see them happening with players as they progress with their experience. They go from being Havel tanks to lighter armor to less poise to lighter to lighter to lighter, and if they continue to challenge themselves, they'll go even more to this. They'll not use a shield. You know, they'll use weaker weapons, they'll use more exotic weapons. There's these progressions that happen on the game, and this invasion is annoying for me. This is a New Game Plus, dude. He's got the Great Sword of Gwyn, so that tells you that he's New Game Plus. Or he's modding or something, or bottomless boxing and whatever. And he's running away from me. A level 15 build, and he's running away. It doesn't make any sense to me. I would rather die having fought than ever win by doing nothing but turtling and running away, because to me that's just stupid. It's not how I roll at all. And it turns out that this guy's running away because he wants to summon his friend. But the problem is, they must have been having, I think, a shit connection, because I didn't see the sign, and it's taking ages. But his friend eventually turns up. Oh no, my bad, he summons his friend there. So this guy's been waiting around for his dragon buddy. And you might be saying, Chris, how do you know it's his friend? How do you know it's just not some random dude? Well, I bump into these people quite a lot, and there's a couple of fights you didn't see where I bump into them individually, and then they're back together in another world later on. And do you know how you have those moments in Dark Souls where you want to come back with a different build just to punish people who punished you? And I'm using punish here without judgment. I'm just saying, you know, you got beaten and you know you could have won if it had been different equipment. So, brilliant example. Guy turns up with an Abyss Sword, nearly one-shots me with a backstab, and then proceeds to chase me down. But he's a dragon, which tells us one thing. He has no poise. He's not wearing the wolf's ring, so he's a stupid dragon. And I can even say right now that... oh, I wish that dragon had killed him. That would have been glorious, but it didn't. Because they're high level. So... both of these players are stupid. Not a personal thing, just an observation. As far as Dark Souls goes, they are bad players. You know, dude's just flipping around with Darkwood Grain Ring, you know, trying to hit me with pyromancies. The guy's got no poise. Guy has no concept of how this game works. But that I don't get. Doesn't it do that when they die? Yeah, this guy's alive, and because of the iframes, I can't do shit to kill him. And he manages to get away, and his buddy heals him, which is just the bottom. But there's the host, spamming R1, now he's finally swinging his sword. But I couldn't finish these people off. There was nothing I could do, it was so frustrating. You know, I say there was nothing I could do, that's a complete lie. There's a million things I could have done, but on this build, I felt really limited. Because I didn't have anything to get through the shields with, I don't have a shuttle. You know, lag is not on my side, I didn't have pyromancies. I just had my weapons against their flasks and their stupid parry lure, parry bait. But see what I mean? They're in each other's worlds now, so he's now in the other guy's world, which either means they died going through the Berg at their levels, or, you know, they wanted to be in the other guy's world, so they're going back and forth. I'm not too sure. But I know if I'd have come back with any of my other low-level builds, I could have killed them both. Mainly because my strength one has pyromancy, and my dex one has bleed. And it has wicked bleed too, because I've got all sorts of different katanas and things like that, and you could just bleed the tits off them. Especially off a dragon, because his bleed resistance is extremely bad. It's just, their weapons hit so much harder than mine do, and they're still being cowards. There's two of them. They're insanely leveled compared to me, and this is how they play. It's... this is Dark Souls, and it's one of the most exhilarating parts of it. Just the fact that a soul level 15 character can put two, maybe 100 plus characters, 70 plus, I'm not too sure because I didn't manage to kill them. But to be this afraid of one person, Dark Souls all over, and it is really empowering, but I just couldn't get that win. And I tried to chain him, but my chaining at this point was terrible because I'd not really got back into the rhythm for it. But just flasking. And I'm not too sure if I had Lloyds, because a lot of the times I play this character until all my consumables are gone. I do have Lloyds, so I probably should have tried using that earlier on and I might have had more success. That was a dead angle if I'd have had my shield up. Happens a lot with latency when they do that wicked spin around. Same principles of a ghost hit in theory. Is he going to do it again? Interesting, I missed that one. Maybe the connection's a little bit different because he isn't the host anymore. But I go for the parry, but he doesn't swing again. You'll notice I've got some people firing arrows, some of the hollows helping me, which is useful. He's going to run away and heal because he's a bitch. It's just amazing. These wars of attrition. How this is able to even happen. But backstab him again. Try and do the get nothing. Actually, it was a partial, so a little bit better than nothing. But there goes the flask. How many fucking flasks does this bitch have? Amazing. Here comes the combustion. That one totally hit me, as you saw. And that is the end of the video, guys. So be careful out there, because it's a goddamn jungle.